Welcome, ladies, to another episode of S.O.C.S, Sisters Open to Christ, Kindred Spirit. I'm Trish, your host, and I am elated to be sharing with you Marci Viland. I should have gotten that right. We practiced and everything.
It's okay.
Thank you, Marci. She is a devoted mom.
You thought of the eye, didn't you? You thought of the eyeball.
I had to go to the eyeball. I did. It totally messed me up, but I'm like, eye.
So funny.
I do like the way you describe your last name. V with the I.
With an eye, yeah.
Yes.
Draw a nice little eyeball, you know.
For such a cool signature.
So true.
Oh my gosh. All right. I may or may not cut some of this out, Marci, but it's
That's fine. It's all good. We'll make people laugh.
That's right. I'm all in for laughter today. That sounds perfect. So I'm going to try this bio here, though. Marci
Yes.
It's a devoted mom and wife. Having lived with MS for 18 years, Marci embodies resilience and grace, drawing strength from her faith, family, and personal growth. A proud mom of 3 and married for 15 years, she is committed to making a lasting impact by helping others live with purpose and determination, whether mentoring, collaborating with organizations, or finding a joy in everyday moment. She is a living example of strength, hope, and the power of perseverance. Marci has a podcast, Simply Inspired, and is working on speaking engagements to share her story. And her website, which will be in the show notes, is marciviland.com. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with that. I need to just let it flow better.
That wouldn't be fun anymore, though.
No, then it would just sound like I know what I'm saying. Okay, so Marci, thank you so much for being here today. I am really excited to get into some questions for you that I have. One of the first questions and let me just say, I'm sorry I didn't give you these ahead of time, so we're just gonna wing it and hope you got good answers.
We prayed. I'm in it. We're good.
I think our prayers will get us there. That's for
right.
Sure. So, Marci, this is a question that I ask everybody, and I'm going to try to get it out. This podcast is dedicated to supporting Christian women who desire to have a deeper connection to Christ. Could you please share with the listeners how you think you can help them move just one step closer to a stronger relationship with Jesus?
Absolutely. I think hearing other stories, sharing my story of how I came back to my faith can resonate with some people maybe feeling lost. Kind of what I needed to hear in a situation to bring back my faith with God. And sometimes we just need to hear a little, not necessarily someone telling you what to do, just a story or a little blurb of a statement that can help you bring your faith back and walk more fully with Christ.
That's a great answer, Marci. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking was the importance of, the sharing your story, because ultimately, and I've had these conversations over podcasting with people, and hearing people's stories, the importance of sharing individual stories.
Mm-hmm.
And why it's so important is because it expresses a vulnerability
mm-hmm.
that only someone who is reverent
mm-hmm.
Is willing to express.
Right.
And that is so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
When you can see that, oh my gosh, this person had this struggle and I thought mine was bad, or
right.
Or something even different. Like, that's very relatable because I'm experiencing the exact same thing.
Right.
So I think that's so important for us to have that as a focal point with pretty much everything we do.
We do, right? Because, at the end of the day, I feel like we're all looking for that hope, you know, and if we can give somebody that, I just think that's an honor, and we all have that story. And a lot of times we don't want to share. We're afraid to share. And sometimes someone just needs to hear it.
Yes. And I think that goes back to our conversation earlier before we hit record, when we were talking about how kids go to Sunday school and they just spill all the tea.
Absolutely.
and how they have zero filter,
Yep.
and how we're like, hey, now cut it. Too much. But then when you really start to think about it, how we should actually be learning, right? They do share their stories entirely too much. That is for sure. And, ultimately, though, I think what I was trying to get at was we should actually take a little bit of lesson from them in regards to being open to sharing our truth. And the more vulnerable we are, the more of a open window into the life of what comes with following Jesus, as opposed to having these feelings like we can't share. Number one, right? So
Right.
I can't. I'm uncomfortable sharing because I'm for fear of judgment. So what I was trying to drive home was the importance of having the vulnerability of a child and being able to really be more of an open book, an open window into the soul of who you kind of really are as a Christian, as opposed to spending so much time putting up a facade that that a lot of people then become, they have a right to say, Christians are hypocritical
Right.
or hypocrites, because we if we're putting up a facade and we're not being vulnerable and truthfully sharing, then we're missing the mark, and we are actually creating more of a disconnect from God than a connection to God.
Right. Absolutely. It's like being ashamed to share. So what is
Right.
that getting you?
Right. Yeah. And I've had those. I have a friend who is like super fire for God, like just talks Jesus everywhere she goes. And I'm like, oh, that's not me. That's not. I mean, I love Jesus. I'm talking about him right now, but I
Right. Right.
don't go everywhere I go. And so I'm super envious of that, to be honest. I'm like, oh Lord, I wish I had that kind of fire, because
Yeah.
that's awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm a little nervous. So trying to find ways to get over that nervousness
Right. Right.
is really something that leads me into my next question. Look at that.
Look at that great segue.
But we shall see. Now that I put that much pressure on it. What, what specific moments in your journey have stretched your relationship with Christ?
Ooh, that's really good. I would say for sure the moment that I was in, so I was diagnosed at a young age of right before my 23rd birthday. And I would say at that time I was living the what I would call the selfish 22-year-old life. I really was only thinking about what we were going to do that weekend. I mean, it was all about like what I'm going to do. It wasn't anything more. And after I graduated high school, I had kind of lost, my faith in a way because I was being
Sure,
selfish, is what I
sure.
like to think. I'm not proud of it, but it was part of
Right.
my journey.
Mhm.
And then when this moment happened of, oh, something is not right and we need to figure this out, I remember laying in the MRI machine and being like, hey, God, I feel bad. Should I pray to you? Can I pray to you? I haven't prayed to you and I don't know when.
Mm.
And I feel, should I pray to you now that I need you? Like going back through all of that. And it was like a aha moment, like, I've got you. We're in this, I'm always here. I'm waiting for you to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of turned into, oh, okay, that's good. That's real good. But how? And it was like a process of me for quite a while to get my faith back. But I don't think I would have, being diagnosed with this or having this health condition, I don't know if that would have happened. And even along the way of all that, I worked so hard to get my faith back. And then it was another huge moment was, I'm like, okay, we're time to start a family. Like, I'll get pregnant right away. Like I've gone through all of this stuff, these past few years. I'm sure God he'll bless me with this right away. And when it didn't happen, like, the moment I thought it should, it was a whole opening of, it's not our plan. It's not up to me. It is up to him. And the blessings that have come from, in a million years, like there's no reason why we should have had twins at all. It's not in her family, any of that. And it was like, okay, you think you're funny, God, to give us twins. I mean, I don't even know how to take care of one baby, let alone two. But it was like, it was in the plan to be able to be a mom of 3, but 2 pregnancies, because with MS pregnancies, you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's just 2 examples of how my faith and in my journey of my walk with Christ has been brought forth from what I originally thought was like going to be the worst thing in my entire life, being diagnosed with this disease.
Sure.
And I say, in a way, it brought me more blessings that I didn't know I was in line for.
That's a great perspective to have. And I think so frequently people miss the mark on that also. And that is that when you can see the positives in something that is extremely stressful and negative, right?
Right.
Having been in situations similar to you, that I have been questioning God, like, hey,
Right.
I just want to know if there's any way you could make this change real quick.
Yeah.
Like,
Could use this. Yeah. Where are you at?
This is a little iffy. I don't really want to be in this situation.
Yeah.
And having those moments where I can now look back on a lot of that. And it's unfortunate that so frequently we miss the mark in our 20s. And it takes us into our 30s and some 40s, sometimes even later in life,
right,
to really come to the realization of what the wisdom that comes with age. And it's really very
it's true. Yeah.
There really is some kind of shift that takes place where you can look back and say, oh, that's why you decided to do that, God, right?
Absolutely.
Sense. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for and getting that epiphany realization moment from God where it all clicks and makes sense, right? That's an awesome feeling to be able to experience that. And I don't think you can get that unless you're older and you have that retrospective way of looking at stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's a blessing. I like to think that, because we do, my husband and I often think, like, would we look at things in life like this if this wouldn't have happened? And obviously we don't know, but the way life was, I wouldn't have a reason to not appreciate things like I do now, so it's unfortunate as things can be, and there are bad times and bad situations, and it's not fun and it's hard, but when you grow through them, and when you have that foundation of your faith in you, it almost makes every battle one that you're able to conquer, because you know what your foundation is.
Yeah, I agree with that. My story kind of aligns similarly in the fact that I was in a car accident that should have killed me. And I struggle. I struggle every day with pain from that accident. And at the time, what's kind of neat about my story is that at the time I was living in sin with my boyfriend, kind of straddling the fence, going to church, kind of calling myself a sometimer. I'd go to church sometimes. I wasn't really living the life that God really desired for me, and certainly not living out the plan that the ultimate serious plan God had for me in my life. But the car accident was my pivotal shift moment where God said, I need you to write a book. And I want you to tell everybody about all the miracles that happened in order for you to still be here.
Absolutely.
And so and when you have that epiphany of like, oh yeah. Now I have this, almost like there's a purpose for our existence. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Not just you, Trisha, but everybody on the earth.
Right. Yeah. Oh, darn. Yes. This is a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Every one of these people have a reason for being here. And their story is important for them all to share.
For all the glory. And darn it, do it, do it.
of a life could you have?
Yeah.
You come to that realization, the
Right.
peace that just like, first of all, it just becomes like overwhelmingly
Yes.
gratifying. Like it
Yes.
just like, oh, okay, I got you,
Okay.
God.
Okay. But did we have to do it this way? Did we?
I go a lot of times to, I wish I would have learned this earlier.
Right. 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 Oh yeah.
I definitely wish I would have
Yeah.
this would have hit me in my 20s or 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
You're
sure.
like, okay, the time is not on my, yeah. Okay.
Time is definitely not on my side, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm now working extra hard to make up
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the, for the, not the mistakes, because like you
Yeah.
said, they were all learning experiences. They
Yeah.
were, whether they were, car accidents or diseases or,
Yeah.
all of the
Anything.
things that
Yeah.
happen in your life. Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
it's fun to, learn how you can grow deeper through
Yeah.
those moments. And
And you're
that,
doing it. You're
yeah,
doing it.
and
You're
so are
doing
you,
it.
sister. So
You're
are
doing
you.
it. Proud of you.
Oh, I am so proud of you too, Marcy. So, speaking of which, I got a question that really lines up with that also, and that was, how has your faith shaped your perspective on living with MS?
It has, there's always going to be that fear of the unknown because it is an unpredictable, incurable disease
Yes.
right now. I always like to say right now
Sure.
because I have the faith that may not be for me, but for people to come, that
Yeah.
there's going to be something out there. And just in the 18 years that I've had it now, it's, when I first was diagnosed, there's only 4 drugs. And now, I mean, we're in our like 20s for it. So, it's to
Yeah.
be able to see the change, I feel that. But the faith of knowing that whatever God hands me, as long as I have Him, my fear can't win, and I know everything is going to be okay. And I've instilled it. It may not be the way I want it, but it would be in His plan if it were to be a way that I don't want.
Right.
And I like to instill that with my kids. Like the treatments I go on don't make me feel very good. And my kids, when they were younger, I thought it was so hard, but it's actually harder now that they're older because they can see it. When they were younger, they just didn't understand it.
Right.
And now that they're 12 and 9, they see, mom's got to go lay down, or sometimes the medicine just takes me over and I just don't feel good. And so for them to know, what, guys, what do we do in this house here? What are we believe in God. We trust in God. I'm going to be okay. I just have to go do this,
Yeah.
God's got this taken care of,
Yeah.
and whatever it is, we're going to be okay. Instilling that confidence in them, knowing the foundation of our beliefs and our faith makes anything that comes our way, like, yes, you're going to be scared. You're going to have the fear, but you know where to turn.
Yeah.
And you know where to lie your worries and to lie, your hopes, and all to know that you've got that, and together we'll do it.
Right on. That's
Yeah.
great. All right, I got another one. Where were there moments where you wanted to give up? And I kind of felt like that led pretty good into what you were saying. And how did God pull you through? Because I think, you're at a place where you're confident that you are. Yes, it's a process. Yes, I have to struggle, but I know I'm going to come out okay because I have faith that God's going to prevail.
Right.
But tell me, like, were there moments that were difficult where you felt like, okay, maybe I just want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for sure, the first few months of being diagnosed, I was given double the dose of what I should be taking. So I was sick for like 5 out of the 7 days a week. It was great. And I remember thinking, this is what, and that first treatment literally gave you the flu. So I had the flu for 5 days straight. And I remember just laying on the bathroom floor going, this is what my life is now. Like, how am I supposed to do good with this? Like, I have come to the realization and the peace and the message from God saying, okay, you have this. So what good can you do with it? Instead of being angry of this diagnosis, what good can I do with it? It's not going to go anywhere. So,
Right.
Okay, I'm going to do something good. But how can I do good when I'm laying on the bathroom floor for 5 days?
Right.
And it was like, I just don't want to live a life like this. But that also gave me like the the drive inside me to be like, figure it out. There's
Yeah.
got to be another option, and so with further, changing doctors and whatnot, we figured it out. It was too much. And so I was able to be only sick 2 days a week. So I was able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I recall somebody saying when I really thought I wanted to give up of being a mom is let me back up for a sec. When I was first diagnosed, I was told by the doctor, it was either a brain tumor pushing on my optic nerve or it was MS flaring up the optic nerve. And at the time, I only thought people with MS could not have kids. So I remember that night being like, okay, let's make it, please be a brain tumor. We can do whatever you got to do. I want to be a mom. That's just all I've ever wanted to be. And then when he told me it was MS, my very first question, which, at 22, we weren't even married. We were thinking about that. It just came through me. Like I say, it was a Holy Spirit moment. Like that. My first question was, can I have kids? Like it wasn't, it was like not the selfish me that I had been, thinking about what I'm going to do, for myself. It was, what do I have to do? And that turned into what do I have to do from here on out to be a mom that day? Well, then I remember a woman said to me, well, why would you have kids if you have an incurable disease? And I remember thinking, thank you for asking that. And rude, number one. And then it got in my head, like, should I just give up on that dream? Like, because of that, it was never a thought. And then it was, well, she's right. I guess I do have incurable. Should I not do this? And it was one of those that took me a bit, that it was of a timing of needing to get myself away from the situation, really think about it. And then it was like, oh, Marci, for the love of, for the love of me, this is what you've always wanted. People are going to say what they're going to say. And then I remember that moment turned into like, it's my job to then educate people what this is, instead of letting your ignorance, which is okay. Maybe you just didn't know, or did you want to say it in the other way? I hope not, but I don't know. But it was like another pivotal moment of, okay, well, let me tell you why it would be okay to have, and not just the medical wise, but my faith wise.
Right.
Where I remember saying, well, I know that's always been something that God had a plan for me to be a mom. So thank you for your non-concern, but that was a moment from there on out that I think it was any of those negative thoughts that come in that you want to give up, you have to remember your why. Yes. And the responsibility too, that I feel to hopefully make an impact on other people. Like, I can't give up. People might be watching. My kids are definitely watching.
Yeah, you're right. And the idea of what kind of legacy are you leaving behind is kind of important one.
Absolutely.
Especially if your heart has always been in being a mom.
Right.
The role of the way you are what you will leave behind is really an important aspect. So, making sure that your children see you making those decisions. And you know what? And this sounds so preachy, right, Marci? Because let's be honest, we don't always hit the mark in this area, ladies. Nobody is saying that.
Yeah.
But
I like to think so.
We like to at least make every attempt to, is the way I like to look at it. I think the other day I was like, I went in and said to my granddaughter, I was like, boy, I missed the mark today. I am sorry.
Yeah.
And that goes back to our first part of our discussion, which is the importance of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because I think even with our children, when we are not setting examples of God, because that is going to happen in our home, probably anywhere else, unfortunately. Right. I think, and that goes back because we're comfortable being vulnerable.
Exactly. Darn it.
I wish I was more timid at my home than I am in church.
Right. So true.
Right. I was thinking about something that you were saying when you were questioning whether or not the lady had a good perspective on whether or not you should get pregnant with MS or be a mother with MS. And I think so frequently when you are drawing nearer to God, you can really start to decipher the difference between God's voice and the devil's voice in your
Absolutely.
mind and in your heart and in your, just in your ears even, when you really start to think about whether or not what this person is saying is even what's the word I'm looking for. What they invoke, I guess, is the thought I was having. The emotion that what someone has put you in. Now, I mean, my first thought would have been that if someone would have said that, I would have felt anxious and, I would have started to feel a lot of negative emotions from that statement.
Right.
And instantly in those moments, when you start to realize, okay, wait, these are not emotions I like feeling, right?
Right. No.
So it can't possibly be of God.
Right. Nope. Not at all.
So what that woman just said isn't of God. So I can move on.
Yep. It was like, and it was almost, it was trying to, you're not going to bring me down. Like that's just another moment of, the devil trying to make that little mark in you because you are moving forward rather than not, and I hope knowing, more about this like lady, when I had told people, I'm like, oh, this is what this one said. And they kind of hearing, like, I'd almost turn into like, what I could see her being like, I turned into like praying for her because she would give up. Because based on life was like, well, maybe that was why, because now she could see a situation, and you just hope. But it was, I was thinking, oop, something's always going to try to bring you down, no matter what you do, and you're not stopping me from moving forward because I got this plan. Okay. But you're right. It's totally as soon as you feel like you're on a good path, there's going to have those moments.
Sure.
Of him trying to come in and steal your joy. And that's a full-time job to not let that happen.
Yes. And then some. Sometimes it's way more than 40 hours. Well, my first thought was, like when you were talking was get behind me, Satan, right? But as you went on and shared of, the woman in particular, when you think about that kind of stuff and you start to really assess that and God gives you these little thoughts that pop up, right? Of, have you considered this?
Right.
Maybe the reason why she made that statement is because it wasn't directed towards you. It really wasn't you. It was more about internalizing her own junk, and I think so frequently people don't think like that because we are way too self-absorbed.
Yeah.
You
go into like attack mode or like, why are you doing that to me rather than turning it into them?
Right. And when you can actually do that, that is like so freeing.
It's so freeing.
It
is so freeing. It is so freeing. And then like at first I feel like once I, established that, it was like, well, I wanted to try to fix everyone.
Sure.
I can't fix everyone. No one could fix everyone.
The only one fixing people is Jesus anyway. So.
Exactly. And if I'm doing what I, feel is right and speaking and sharing with them, like then I am helping in the way of fulfilling, like we're doing God's work for him here.
Right.
So, and in that revelation, it's helped in so many situations as a parent and, as, anyone to kind of see a different angle.
Yeah.
And the lessons that have all come from, and again, I always go back to, it's crazy to think, I don't know if I would be here like this, seeing this. Would I be that one saying that kind of question? Maybe.
Right. I mean, the difference in choices, I can go back over like my life and been like, oh, if I'd have done this, where would I be? Right. I think everybody has done that at some point in their life. They've gone and said, ooh, if I'd have done this differently, where would I be today?
Right.
And of course, it comes more and more the older you get because you got lots more possibilities you could have chosen. Right? But I think it's very common, I think, for people to have those kind of questions. And when you start to realize that even though you've had these thoughts or these questions, that ultimately it's all been so worth it to get to where you are.
Even if we don't think he's funny.
which it's really hard not to think God is
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
This for sure.
Absolutely.
This so for sure.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your podcast. How has sharing your story through your podcast, Simply Inspired, helped you connect with others who needed encouragement?
Yes, I'm trying. I'm new to this whole, podcast world. It is one of those, how can you get, your message and your voice and your story out? And what good is it if these lessons that I feel fortunate and blessed to have learned, how good is that? What am I doing for others if I'm keeping it just in my own head? So I came up with the name because I really just wanted people to be simply inspired by the situations or by the
Yeah.
moments and
Yeah.
what has happened, and to give that hope, because it came to me when I was working on writing. Still, I'm working on writing a book, but it was like, what was I looking for when I was first diagnosed that I didn't find? And I really was just looking for hope. I knew the answers, the medical reason why and all that. And that was all scary. But there was never anything out there that I could find reading wise, medically wise, that gave me hope. Hope of, you can live a fulfilled life. It just might look different. You can do all these things you want to. It just might look different. Just that grasp of hope, a little bit of hope. I wasn't asking for a cure. Just give me something to hold on to. And so thought, well, this is a way to share that bit of hope and sprinkle it, hopefully, with others listening, and to get to more people that I might not know that might be looking for that hope that I didn't find for a while.
Sure.
So I never wanted anyone to feel what it felt like those first few months. So that was I don't even really know how to explain it, but it was dark, because you just had nothing to hold on to know where to go next.
Yeah.
And I just never would want anyone to feel that. So that was my start, for sure, of wanting to do the podcast. And there's so many ideas I have, there's only so many hours in the day.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really my main focus, and my main mission was to give others hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you were speaking, I was writing down names of people that I know that could benefit you. So I will
Thank you.
definitely get you those names here.
Thank you.
I was like, oh yeah, wait, what about her? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really great that you have a focus that is very specific and very God driven, because I think, we can have hope and not have God.
Right.
But it's a lot different when it's God driven hope.
Yep. When that equation is fulfilled with God at the end,
Yes.
it's miraculous.
Yes. Agreed.
That's for sure.
110%. With that being said, I did want to ask you my last and final question, which lines up again. It's like this just cookie cutter stuff here. Just cookie cutter stuff. It's beautiful.
It's the kangaroo in the back.
That's what it is. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I laugh because I'm like, is he like kissing her shoulder there?
He's actually really far back. That's what's funny. Oh, that's good.
Cute. So cute.
I'm gonna think of you now with his event next week.
I'll thank you. Full pictures. I just want to see the whole thing in action.
Oh, it's a hoot. It's a hoot.
I can't imagine a wax museum with
Oh, yes.
Oh,
and
man.
they have to memorize the speech. And I was actually in his class yesterday subbing, and it's impressive. I mean, they're only in third grade. And I was like, wow, you guys can do this?
Oh my gosh, that's great. That whole hour of standing
Yes.
there. All right, let's see if I can get this last question out.
You should just leave this whole thing, and people are just going to crack out.
Yeah, it would be very painful for people driving. I mean, and they're just listening. It would be painful. So,
Boy, okay.
Yeah, we probably will have to cut some of this out. Okay, so all right. So for those of you new to the podcast, you might not know this, but each episode has its own purchasable socks. So last fun question, Marci. what Bible verse will be on the bottom of your socks so we can be standing on the Word of God, and why?
I love it.
Thank you.
I would say, I know I should know this by heart. It's like Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. You had it. You got it. That was good.
That is it. That
Yep.
is a lot of times when I'm doing, running or anything that is scary. That is the verse that goes through my head a lot.
You had sent me 3, and all of them kind of centered around the same thing, and that is strength and being able to do all things, that everything's possible. Nothing is impossible with God.
Right.
I think those types of verses can be so encouraging and uplifting when used in the moment that you need it. And I love how God, when I ask this question of people, I get excited because I think it really I can actually like determine one's personality based on their favorites.
I bet you could. Yeah.
I mean, after a while of asking that question and
yeah.
getting an understanding. So like I've gotten to the point now where like that's like my number one question I go to and start off on investigating the person is their Bible.
I love that.
It really helps to kind of get a feel for what kind of person you're going to be talking to, because I do think we're all my Bible verse has never been one Bible verse, to be honest.
Right.
So when somebody asks that of me, I'm like,
yeah, right. Like, yeah.
It's not like it's like I do right now have a Bible verse, and I've learned to do it more since I have been doing this, but
right.
It has been, those Bible verses change with our seasons, where we're
Absolutely.
at, and so I think having an idea of the person's verse really helps to kind of see where they're at right now.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's been neat too. I've never memorized Bible verses.
I'm terrible at it.
Like growing up, this is awful. But growing up, I went to a Catholic school and I never even opened up a Bible, like unless you had to do a homework from it.
Right.
you know? And so not that there's anything wrong with that faith. I'm no longer it, but it's been like, the Bible has become like my go-to.
Yeah.
And I've been, it's been, especially I turned 40 last year. That was like my goal this year of being 40 is like really reading the Bible and really having those verses that you can come back to. And there's a lot that you always seem to see at like Hobby Lobby and printed all over everything, but then you'll find those ones. And even if you just like quick open to any page, I love it that you can write it down, and I'll just find random papers of verses, and then it's like, oh yeah, I remember that, and how it always correlates. And so it's been like a passion of mine with the kids now too. Like that was something I didn't have as a child, so to bring that with them. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Really
there is
fun.
Something really enjoyable about when you recognize, okay, well, I wrote this Bible verse 6 months ago.
Right.
And look, I'm looking at it right now, and all of a sudden it makes so much sense.
So much sense. Yeah.
And I look at it every day, right? I see it every day, but I don't look at it the same as I look at it right now, because right now in the moment I need to see that verse. That's sinking to me right here, right now. That's the coolest feeling ever.
It's just incredible. It's just incredible. It's you don't even know how to like really describe it, but otherwise I just feel like the peace.
Yes.
And when you think maybe at that time you weren't going to make it through, or it wasn't going to get any better, and it did.
Right.
And it was
it does.
that.
Yep. Well, that's all God, right?
That's right.
That's for sure. Well, Marci, would you mind sharing with everybody how they can find you and what your socials and what you offer?
I am on Instagram at Marci Viland. So MARCI, V as in Victor, ILAND as in dog. No eyes in it, like literally no eyes, but
no eyeballs.
No eyeballs. There is an eye. There's no eyeball.
There's no eye in it.
Right. Yes. And then that's true. Oh no. Should we start? Oh no. You're like, hey Larry, do you know how to spell your name? Oh, this isn't my natural color either.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, you definitely should start that.
Okay.
Marci, could you please share your your socials again? Just give it a second.
Absolutely.
Wait. We got this. Okay. Marci, could you please share with the listeners how they can find you?
Yes. Instagram, it's Marci, Marci Viland, Viland. And website is marciviland.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marci, for socking it
Thank
to us.
you so much. Thank you. Thank you.